Many INFJs and INTJs believe that extroverted sensing is this negative thing that you're supposed to wrestle and fight against, and this is often reflected in negative views that we tend to have about extroverted sensing people. It's something I hear a lot from INFJs and INTJs is they're so shallow and simple, and they don't understand, and they don't think deeper about things. They don't really go to the level I want to go to, right? And in these, we have a lot of judgments. But in this video, I want to show you how learning and improving your extroverted sensing and your nature intelligence as an INFJ or INTJ can help boost your introverted intuition, and why it's so beneficial to strive towards a more balanced and fair view of extroverted sensing personality types. Now, I can speak to the wonders of befriending and getting to know ESFPs and ESTPs for all I want, but I think most importantly is I probably answer the question of why these things are good and how we can learn to connect and understand these types better, and how we can get in touch with this function in a way that feels comfortable for us. Because the truth is, yes, there is an uncomfortable aspect of extroverted sensing for the INFJ or INTJ, and no, I don't expect you to become party freak that loves to go out and that will always be very enthusiastic and full of energy, and somebody who loves to be spontaneous. These are not things that I expect from you or require of you, or these are not things that you need to have to be a healthy or happy or functional person. What the real benefit of extroverted sensing is found often in the nuances of what extroverted sensing is. Because the truth is, many INFJs and INTJs struggle with something we can discuss as highly sensitive nervous systems, right? So many INFJs and INTJs experience a lot of nervous fidgeting. A lot of INFJs and INTJs feel often uncomfortable in crowds and with a lot of people. A lot of INFJs and INTJs feel quickly drained if they start to engage with the outer world. Many INFJs and INTJs avoid talking to people or getting into relationships or taking on projects or expressing how you think to the world because you fear being misunderstood. You often don't like to dumb down your ideas or thoughts for other people. You find it draining to talk and express yourself and to take the stage. You don't like other people watching you when you do things, And so what do you do? How do you manage it? And what are perhaps the joys of extroverted sensing? Because the truth is, without extroverted sensing, you as an INFJ or INTJ would never be able to appreciate, the gentle feeling of, hugging your blankets in the morning, and feeling the coziness of the fabric and the richness of the texture. And without extroverted sensing, you'd never be able to, stand on top of a mountain, feel the wind and stretch out your arms and to just feel alive. And without extroverted sensing, you'd never be able to enjoy, those small sounds of birds in the morning, when you wake up at a reasonable hour, hopefully, And so we know that this function is very beneficial for happiness, well-being, and joy. And it's said from statistical points of views that in the MBTI, INFJs are one of the personality types that struggle the most with dissatisfaction in relationships. They often feel their partners are too demanding or overwhelming. They often feel that they have to compromise themselves to fit in. They often feel maladaptive in the sense that they feel like no matter where they go, they don't really fit in with anyone and nobody understands them, right? So these are common concerns that come from not having mastered extroverted sensing and not finding the right way to engage and express it. And now what I often see is many INFJs and INTJs, they overdo it, right? So often what I see is this pendulum where people switch from, hating and don't wanting to touch extroverted sensing and not wanting to use it at all. And other times, pushing themselves, forcing themselves. I really need to. I gotta put myself out there more. I gotta, start a YouTube channel, or I gotta go out and meet up with more people. And, then they do it, and then they just go crazy about it. They become super obsessive, and they push themselves really hard, and they, you know, they manage for a little bit, but, you know, they soon start feeling very drained, and, you know, then they quit and they give up, and it became too much too soon, and they couldn't handle the heat of it. You know, perhaps you went into a relationship and you were enjoying it at first, but at some point, you know, your partner started feeling too domineering and too annoying, and you started feeling constantly frazzled, and you didn't like that they were touching you, and, you know, things were happening, right, that you didn't feel good about, right, and you immediately felt like you have to get away from this. It's not right. This doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want this. You know, this is not, you know, what you had bargained for, right? So often the conundrum here is just like, what is a healthy level of extroverted sensing that is positive and fulfilling for you as a person? And what is it that you hope for when you're out with people and when you're engaging with the outer world? Often we can expect from ourselves that, you know, if we go to a party, for example, then we have to stay all night, we have to be loud, and we have to be super social, and people have to like us, and we have to make a great impression, and we have to look great, and we have to, you know, all these things, right? And, you know, the more pressure you put on yourself, the less batteries you're going to find that you have. So if you put extreme levels of pressure on yourself, you're going to find that, you know, already after a couple of minutes or after an hour, you're going to feel like you want to get the hell out of there, right? And it's too much. But if you go in there and you tell yourself, you know, it's completely fine if I just observe and listen, and, you know, I don't have to be on the dance floor. I can just go to the kitchen area and find some people that are having a cozy chatting circle and, you know, sit down with them, and I don't have to say anything if I don't want to, and I don't have to look perfect, and I don't have to this or that. You know, I can just be here and just enjoy the vibe and take it easy. Often what's going to end up happening in those situations is you're going to feel like you can last longer, you can enjoy it more, and it will feel better for you. But often it's the expectations that make it the most difficult. The feeling, you know, often prompted by your introverted intuition, this tendency to imagine a situation or a scenario and to come in with certain expectations, you know, of who you hope to meet, what kind of conversations you hope to have there, and what you want things to be like. And, you know, it's the feeling like you have to do these things and experience these things that often make things the most disappointing, and it's those things that also make you feel the most frustrated with yourself, right? Because often INFJs and INTJs, they have these ideas about who they should be and what they should be like, and often you can't really meet and match those ideals. So you have to sit with yourself and think about what's realistic and fair to expect from yourself at your current level and considering your current situation. Here it's about recognizing when you have these kinds of standards and ideals that are just going to kill you in the long run, right? If you have a project idea or a goal, you know, the truth is those things require extroverted sensing, because if you have an idea, if you feel like there's something you're supposed to do in the world, if you've seen the future and seen has some kind of vision about what you want with your life, right? The truth is you need extroverted sensing to make that happen, because that vision is going to be brought to life in your everyday actions that you have every day from now in every situation, right? So these are things that you are going to be doing in the present moment. So the future that you're working towards happens every day in the present, right here, right now, right? So that's an important thing to remember. You need extroverted sensing to execute your ideas, to have the energy to put things through life, to have the capacity and strength to be able to see things through to the end. And if you just say yes to something or tell yourself you're going to do something, and then you don't have the energy to get out of bed, it's crushing, it's too much, it's too overwhelming, too exhausting, too demanding, that project is never going to see itself to come to fruition, and you're going to feel like you betrayed that idea and you didn't give it your best and you didn't make it what it was supposed to be, right? So here it's the recognition of, you know, what it needs to be, because ideas have to be translated to reality. And often how we think about and conceptualize this is introverted intuition shows us this idea world, and in the idea world everything is perfect, everything is laid out, you know, everything has this like form where it's just straight and perfect and shiny, you know, and we see exactly what we want it to be, right? And then we have the real world, right? So contrasting to that, we have the real world. We have that, you know, imperfect, uncomfortable environment around us. These things that, you know, are too bright and too noisy, and these things that feel this and that way, you know. And the real world, the real life is imperfect, and yeah, in that, we're sitting with that, we're wrestling with that, and it's often this desire, in INFJs and INTJs, that they wish that the real world didn't exist and that they were all ideas, 100%, that they could just be in the idea world forever and never have to wake up. You could just live in that dream world and that fantasy, and you never have to experience this. And often it can be represented by this matrix fantasy of, wanting to escape the matrix, wanting to get out of this, wanting to be somewhere else, which is somehow perfect and everything you ever hoped it to be. But the truth is, the idea world and the real world, these things, they feed on each other's, and often the ideas that you have are shaped by the real world. And it's something you don't always realize, but introverted intuition belongs on a pendulum with extroverted sensing. We switch between them all the time. We're moving back and forth. And if we're not reflecting on the extroverted sensing, it comes to us as a surprise, as a dream, as an idea, an impression, and often it's like an inverted thing of the real world. We draw inspiration from our experiences, from everything we do, and from everywhere we go. And so if we don't engage with the world often, we cut off the fuel source that will eventually feed into our ideas and give us better ideas too. So when we don't engage with the real world and have real relationships, often we engage in false ideas and things that don't work and things that don't really exist, and we start obsessing about things because we get stuck on that one thing we had from many, many years ago, and we can't see anything else but that, right? So we need constant new impressions to feed new ideas, and we need that cycle moving back and forth between our ideas to reality. And it's by bringing our ideas to reality, by learning to translate them. We give them examples, we give them a specific form and shape, we make a website, or we make an app, or we make a project, or we make a crafts with our hands, right? We do these kinds of things. So it's translating like this. It's these things that give ideas shape and form, and that's what ideas want to be. Ideas want to be brought to reality. They come to you because they hope that you will have the strength to bring it out to the world and show it off to others. And these ideas want to be translated in some way. The truth is, the translation is always going to be a compromise, because we're compromising with reality. We're compromising with a world where everyone is and has a part to play. And we're compromising with our current level of skills, and with our body and energy levels, and with our physical shape, and with all these different limitations that are presented to us by the real world. And the truth is, while that is as frustrating as it can be, nature intelligence, extroverted sensing also gives us the understanding of knowing what the rules are and how to work around them and circumvent them and adapt to them, so that we can do and engage and make those ideas come to life as close to our ideals as possible. So yeah, by having extroverted sensing, by having nature intelligence, it's easier for you to exemplify your ideas. It's easier for you to make yourself understood by others. It's easier for you to explain your thought process to the world. It's easier for you to, have the energy consistently to put yourself out there and to work and put in effort into things that you care about. It's nature intelligence that gives you these things, and it shows you constantly in every situation what you could do to express what it is that you feel inside to the outer world in a way that the outer world can look at and be like, hey, I recognize that, and that's interesting, I've never seen that before, or hey, that's cool, that's different, right? And that's why we need extroverted sensing.